Retribution arrived, which is apparently the WWE not being political, and Alexa Bliss is into the mask. For all this and exclusive information on Braun Strowman, Matt Riddle and more, I'm Tom Collihew and this is the SmackDown review. The end of last week was all about The Fiend, and you could definitely tell that this week because The Fiend was advertised multiple times throughout the night and actually only appeared at the segment straddling the first and second hour as a way to try and keep viewership. It's not often you see The Fiend, 1, on SmackDown, 2, with his lantern, and 3, not in the main event. While this is key, The Fiend did attack and in fact kidnap Alexa Bliss last week as a way to try and call out Braun Strowman. We'll see if he's successful, but after this introduction Michael Cole makes no reference to The Fiend and just starts the first match. One thing I am interested in is what's your favourite version of Bray Wyatt? Do answer in the comments below. Our opening match was Matt Riddle against Sheamus, definitely a new one for a lot of people, and Matt Riddle's doing a lot of firsts. There is a high possibility that Matt Riddle may be one of the first people moved to Raw in the upcoming draft, simply because of how many people he's working his way through. He takes on Sheamus here in a very physical, hard-hitting Matt Riddle style match, not Sheamus style at all, but Matt Riddle style. However, the match does not go to a clean finish. You're going to hear that a lot today because of the interruption of Chad Gable, who attacks Matt Riddle, very much annoys Sheamus, gets beat up for his trouble by both men. Sheamus calls out Baron Corbin backstage as to why his pet project, as it were, Chad Gable, is getting involved in matches. Looks like we could get a Sheamus face turn, or at the very least Baron Corbin could now be feuding with Matt Riddle, Jeff Hardy and Sheamus, as well as potentially Chad Gable. Corbin's a busy boy. Our next segment is Miz TV with special guest Mandy Rose's hair. I'm going to skip right past this because it sucked. I get that Miz and Morrison are apparently there to appeal to younger audiences and to try and get those under 50s watching. I'm under 50. I wasn't there for this. It's not for me personally, and maybe they're aiming more at the kids. But when Sonya Deville was introduced and cut a very strong promo, business did pick up. I think it's very telling that Miz and Morrison, as well as in the past before them, Dolph Ziggler, know to stay out of Sonya Deville's way and just let her talk. She's been doing incredibly well since being given that opportunity. The segment ends not with Mandy Rose, but with Otis defending his peach along with Tucker. The match is made for the main event, a tag match between Heavy Machinery and Miz and Morrison. As a side note, I wish I looked half as good in a suit as Sonya Deville does. Miz and Morrison versus Heavy Machinery was a feud that was already building when Otis and Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville, in fact, were all taken off TV at the same time. It's good to see they can slot straight back in after 3 or 4 weeks away. In building towards Cesaro and Nakamura against Lucha House Party, we have Cesaro versus Lince Dorado coming up next. This is the only match to feature a clean finish. That's not good. Cesaro it is who wins quite conclusively, making questions about the whole idea of the feud between these two teams. As I've said in my live preview before the show, I do not expect this match to feature on the SummerSlam card. Speaking of, I will be doing live previews for SmackDown at 5 o'clock British time, and that is 12 noon EST. That'll be every Friday if you want to tune in on this channel. The Fiend, as mentioned, straddles the first and second hour. He presents Alexa Bliss. He goes for the mandible claw, but Alexa sort of talks him out of it by giving his mask a stroke. He seems very conflicted about Alexa Bliss. Once again, I'd like to remind people there is no intention to make Alexa Bliss sister Abigail. However, a bit of Stockholm Syndrome would be an interesting story. Braun Strowman appears on the screen in a pre-recorded segment. Yes, it may look like it's coming out of his bathroom. Hopefully it isn't. And hopefully you can get some pointers about when you're cutting a promo on your phone, keep it a little bit further away and keep it above you. Because bless him, Strowman has never been known as the strongest talker. His character does not require it. However, as good as he has gotten recently, he opened by essentially saying, I don't care about Alexa Bliss, which is clearly not true. We saw that at the Swamp Fight. How this plays out, we'll have to wait and see, but it certainly muddies the water. The Fiend apparently vanishes after hearing this, probably taking Alexa Bliss with him because there seems like there's more story to play out. Jeff Hardy versus Baron Corbin is next, a clash of styles which could work out. However, as you might expect, Sheamus gets involved, Bro kicks Jeff Hardy, and even after that whole feud they've just had, Jeff Hardy just walks away and leaves Sheamus to have a match with Corbin, which Riddle gets involved in. Big E does not get a singles match for his singles push this week. He does get a promo backstage, so it does work out. What I will say is that they do not capitalise on the momentum that Naomi has picked up. There is no women's match on this card. The main women's segment, as you might expect, is Sasha Banks and Bayley. No sign of Nikki Cross, suggesting that that feud is clear and done. Sasha Banks and Bayley are called to the ring to have a video conference with Stephanie McMahon. There is some clever camera work here to try and hide the fact that when Sasha Banks and Bayley are talking, Stephanie McMahon is on pause. Stephanie's big announcement is that next week on SmackDown there will be a triple brand battle royal to determine Bayley's challenger for SummerSlam. I would love to see Rhea Ripley, I would love to see Bianca Belair, I'd love to see Naomi. There are many good options. Miz and Morrison take on Otis and Tucker next. Sonya Deville gets to join in the slow motion intro, which I quite liked. The match is good for what it is, however it's interrupted by 2 commercial breaks and doesn't go longer than about 7 minutes anyway. Eventually the match is thrown out when Mandy Rose attacks Sonya Deville on the outside. So for the second week in a row, an attack on the outside to someone not in the match has called a match done. Once the match is over and everyone's in the back, we have Retribution arrive. They come into the main area around the ring. They chase off Michael Cole, who I have never seen run that fast in his entire life. They chase off Corey Graves. They chase off cameramen. They attack a number of people in the crowd, but not in the main crowd area. It looks like there are 4 men and 1 woman. Telling there is that when they attacked a woman on the outside, only 1 person stepped up, strongly suggesting that that is indeed a woman and the sole one. Vanessa Bourne is a name that's been bandied around quite a bit, and I can definitely see that happening. There were some interesting voices. One sounded very much like Honma from New Japan. Wasn't expecting that. Maybe smoked too many. The Retribution angle played out similarly to the Nexus, only less people got attacked. So it was a bit of budget Nexus. Until someone pulled out a chainsaw and cut the ropes. That was quite entertaining, I've got to say. One of the reasons for the intended move back towards live filming, and in fact the main reason that this show was filmed with only 1 SmackDown instead of the expected 2, was because they do not want more information to leak about Retribution. People in the back have been instructed to stop leaking things in order to try and protect this faction. One thing I think we can say with absolute confidence is that Dominik Dijakovic, all 6'8" of him, is not a member of Retribution. People fall for the trolling yet again. After the ending of last week's SmackDown, I came into this show with high expectations, and in that regard, it did not deliver. The Retribution angle may be interesting going forwards, but it's off to a pretty weak start compared to things like the Nexus. Yes, things are still interesting with Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville, I like where they're going there, and yes, having Alexa Bliss respond to The Fiend in that way does make things interesting. However, 1 clean finish, no women's match. This was not a strong SmackDown. My Twitter poll for the show generally disagrees with me. It is a 38% good rating followed by a 34% okay rating. That's not a bad rating at all, a very strong positive, even if very few people were voting towards the great ranking. The in-ring action, as usual, was good. There were some good moments of character development, however there is a couple of storylines which really are starting to bog it down. Let me know what you thought of SmackDown down in the comments. I've been Tom Colhue and thank you for joining me.